The View reacted to Tom Hanks's highly unpopular Saturday Night Live skit, where he played a white, racist, Christian Trump supporter. The sketch sparked outrage online, but unsurprisingly, certain panelists found it hilarious. They quickly defended Hanks, claiming it was just satire, while others dismissed the backlash as overreaction. However, many viewers weren't laughing, calling the skit offensive and another example of Hollywood mocking Middle America. The panel also discussed the Delta plane crash, which happened on Canadian soil, but somehow still blamed Donald Trump. Their reasoning? Supposed ripple effects from his past policies. Critics were quick to call them out, noting that Trump is no longer in office and the crash wasn't even in the US. But that didn't stop The View from pushing their narrative. So, was the SNL skit just comedy? Or did Hanks cross a line? And was The View's take on the Delta crash justified, or just another attempt to drag Trump into the conversation?
If more folks went to church, we wouldn't be in this mess we're in now.
You know what? I agree with you, Doug. I'd like to shake your hand, sir. Here we go.
No, please.
Oh, no.
Like that.
Oh, no. It's just a handshake. Yeah, it's just a handshake. Yeah, all right. You're welcome at Black Jeopardy anytime.
All right. Well, thank you, my brother. Maybe I'll start a show for you to come on, and we'll call it White Jeopardy.
No, we don't need it.
Now, some conservative viewers were not laughing at that part. They thought, I guess they thought this was new, there was a new addition, but this is a callback. He's been on several times in this character.
But the fact remains that they're making anyone who voted for Trump look like a racist, and that's why they're mad.
Well, my biggest issue with this...
And I personally would never do that, because I don't believe that any group is one thing.
Isn't it ironic that Joy Behar suddenly wants to play the not all Trump supporters card? She's now saying it's wrong to paint every Trump voter as racist, because not everyone in a group is the same. But let's be real, hasn't she spent the past year, along with most of the View panel, except for Alyssa, calling every Trump voter a fascist, Nazi, racist, or misogynist, with zero exceptions? They never entertained alternative viewpoints before. But now, suddenly, nuance matters. The outrage over Tom Hanks's SNL skit isn't just about him portraying all Trump supporters as racist. It's about the way Hollywood consistently mocks Christians with this smug, condescending tone. It's the blatant one-sidedness in these portrayals. Let's be honest, they would never dare to do a skit about a Russian communist gushing over Comrade Kamala. That kind of satire wouldn't fly in Hollywood. The double standard is obvious and people are tired of it. Hollywood would never dare portray a black character speaking in exaggerated Ebonics, sagging their pants, and carrying an Uzi, because they know the backlash would be immediate and severe. But when it comes to mocking white people, Christians, and conservatives, suddenly, it's fair game. It's open season on anyone who doesn't fit the left's preferred narrative. And let's not forget, Trump won the popular vote this time around and made significant gains across all demographic groups. So this tired stereotype of a Trump supporter being just an old, racist, white Christian is not only outdated, but it's also downright insulting to the Hispanics, blacks, Indians, and moderates who voted for him. They didn't choose Trump because they fit some caricature. They chose him because the Democrats' message was so uninspiring. But right on cue, here's Sunny Hostin explaining why this portrayal was actually a good thing. Watch.
I have a different take on that. Just because, as Whippy said, Tom Hanks joined the sketch, bringing back the character of Doug, because the first Doug was in a 2016 sketch, and in fact, that was the most popular installment of Black Jeopardy, was with Doug as the Trump supporter in 2016. I think it's a very subversive sketch, in fact. It's about Black culture being American culture. And so when you have the regular Jeopardy, you know, it's basically the white Jeopardy. That already exists, because I've been on it and lost.
And never lets us forget it.
And so this you know, in 2018, you had Chadwick Boseman on, and the fact that he refused to shake the host's hand, that has happened before. Do you remember when the senator refused, the senator's husband that was being...
refused to shake Kamala.
That was sworn in. He refused to shake her hand. So I felt that it was very subversive. I felt that it was a sort of a callback to that.
I want to focus on what she said in the middle there. Oh, we already have Jeopardy. And that's basically white Jeopardy. That right there is the kind of quiet racism that constantly seeps from the left. The assumption that trivial knowledge, intelligence, or academic success is somehow an inherently white trait is incredibly racist. The idea that Black people supposedly can't excel in that environment, that's not just offensive. It's outright demeaning. And then she follows it up with, "I would know because I was on it and lost." That's the perfect example of the DIY victim mentality that dominates leftist narratives. If someone from a marginalized group fails at something, it must be because of systemic racism or injustice, never personal shortcomings, never lack of preparation, never just a bad day. It's a built-in excuse, a shield to deflect from any kind of self-reflection. And let's be real, the reason that SNL skit might have resonated in 2016 was that Trump lost the popular vote. But in today's political climate, it's completely out of touch. Back in 2016, Trump was a wild card, an outsider who said things no politician had ever dared to say. He was unfiltered, blunt, and completely unpolished. And that sent Trump derangement syndrome into overdrive. People just couldn't wrap their heads around how someone so new to politics, someone so crass and unapologetically direct, could win. So they wrote it off with the simplest explanation: his supporters must just be a bunch of racist, white, Christian nationalists. But that narrative doesn't hold up anymore. People aren't clutching their pearls over Trump's words or his delivery like they used to. In fact, that straightforward, unfiltered approach is exactly why so many people support him. He's made major gains across every demographic. There's been a massive red shift in blue states. He's flipped hundreds of blue counties. And why? Because every day, reasonable, hardworking Americans, not just some caricature of an old, white, racist Christian, have left the Democratic Party in droves to back a leader they believe will actually get things done. They don't want another polished politician who tiptoes around political correctness. They want someone who will stand up for them, speak the truth, and put America first. They wanted someone who would speak to them plainly and directly, not just spit out rehearsed platitudes or the word salads we've all come to expect from Kamala Harris. People are tired of politicians who talk in circles without ever saying anything of substance. And this is exactly where Sunny Hostin decides to double down on her holier-than-thou attitude. As the panel reacts to James Carville, a longtime Democrat strategist, warning that Democrats need to stop infighting and get out of their own way, Sunny delivers yet another condescending response, as if she's the sole guardian of political righteousness. Watch how she manages to completely miss the point while making it all about herself.
Let USAID criticisms go. I love USAID. I've been on missions abroad where we've used it to help people, but it's intangible to voters. It doesn't really impact American voters' lives.
Okay.
If DOJ comes into the Social Security Administration and something happens, that's where you hold your real fight for.
Why is Mike going into my Social Security and the IRS?
Well, people
Why is
should
he
be
doing that? Why are he firing
Well, people should be concerned about that, but I kind of agree with James Carville because I'm part of the 92% of black women that voted to save the rest of the country. But the country wanted something else, and the country's getting something else. So I'm resting.
It's not the whole country.
Well, Joy, just to push back on what you're saying.
Oh, so Sunny was on the side that wanted to save the country, and the rest of us? Apparently, we just wanted to destroy it. That's the kind of arrogance that makes it impossible for them to admit they were wrong, that their ideology is deeply flawed. And the proof? Donald Trump is more popular than ever in the polls. He won the popular vote. His agenda items are polling at 60 to 70% favorability. Yet people like Sunny Hostin remain convinced that they were on the right side of history simply because they have college degrees and think they know better. The real issue with the Democrat Party isn't just that they're fighting against an incredibly popular America First agenda. It's that they're offering zero alternative solutions. What's their plan to cut government spending? How do they plan to fix inflation? Because, funny enough, I haven't heard a single word from them on how they'd actually do it. Yet, according to them, the only wrong way to do things is how Trump and Elon are doing it. They kept insisting that nothing Joe Biden did led to an increase in border crossings. But then, just like that, the last 5 or 6 months of his presidency saw crossings drop due to his executive action. Funny, right? That alone exposed the fact that he caused the problem and could have fixed it all along. Now, Trump steps into office and boom, border crossings are down 95%. Yet Democrats swore that some bipartisan legislation was needed to fix the issue. It wasn't Joe Biden's fault, they claimed. But where's their border plan? Where's their immigration policy that doesn't involve giving amnesty and eventual citizenship to 10 million people who illegally entered the country? And of course, they love to talk about how Trump handles foreign policy, claiming he's always mean to our allies. They love to scream about Trump being buddy-buddy with Putin. But what's the opposite of Trump's foreign policy? Biden's policy, where our allies take advantage of us at every turn. And what did that lead to? A war in Ukraine, a war in Gaza, hundreds of billions of US taxpayer dollars funneled into foreign conflicts while Americans struggle at home. They want to cry about Trump's tariffs being the worst thing ever, but let's not forget, it was their administration that unleashed record-high inflation, crushing the working class. Meanwhile, Sunny Hostin wakes up every morning, looks in the mirror, and probably asks, who's the fairest of them all? And just when you thought it couldn't get more out of touch, here's Whoopi Goldberg stepping in to defend wokeism, claiming it's actually a good thing.
That's why it's so annoying, when people talk about wokeism. Because, you know, for years, women decided, I don't like how you talk about us. And so we got out and we did something about it. That was wokeism at its time. People didn't want us doing that. When we said, hey, we got to put more people of color, more folks who are different into colleges. They said, well, we don't want that either.
Yeah.
That was considered wokeism. So it's all of these things that seem to benefit other people, seem to be problematic because you're woke. Well, most women have never been asleep because we know what we're fighting.
What Whoopi is describing isn't wokeism. It's just classic liberalism, the kind where people fought for actual injustices. Women wanted rights, they fought for that. Black Americans wanted equality, they fought for that. The LGBTQ+ community fought for marriage rights, and they got them. But wokeism? That's something else entirely. It's about fighting for injustices that don't even exist. That's the problem with being a progressive. Eventually, there's nothing left to fight for. Everyone has rights. Everyone is equal. Everyone is free. But modern-day woke activists are so desperate to be part of some grand cultural battle that they started inventing fights. A man can actually become a woman? Sure. And that's the hill they've chosen to die on. Wokeism thrives on the idea that oppression never truly ends, no matter how much progress is made. Black people are actually more oppressed than ever, even though we had a black president for 2 terms. The First Amendment is bad, because free speech shouldn't include anything that might hurt someone, as feelings. Teachers should be able to discuss their sexual orientation and fetishes with kids, because making children feel seen is apparently more important than, teaching them math and science. And despite 60+ years of equal rights, the fact that Black Americans remain the poorest demographic isn't attributed to complex socioeconomic factors. No, it's got to be deep-rooted white supremacy, still lurking behind every corner. That's what wokeism is. It's when the demand for oppression outpaces the supply of actual injustice. And in doing so, they've created racism, just so they can keep fighting racism. That's why wokeism was rejected outright in the last election. Most people don't want to live in a constant state of outrage. They want to enjoy the hard-fought progress of past cultural battles and live in a country that is free, equal, and tolerant. White people were tired of being labeled racist just for existing. Black people were tired of being treated like victims just because of their skin color. Everywhere you look, TV, movies, sports, culture, business, politics, Black Americans are thriving in every space. Yet woke activists still act like we're living in the Jim Crow South, and people have finally had enough of the fake oppression narratives. But of course, Sunny Hostin, true to form, just had to squeeze in one more bad faith, low IQ take. This time, blaming the recent plane crash in Canada on Donald Trump.
The other thing that they're doing is the union spokesperson said that the people that have been affected are maintenance mechanics, aeronautical information specialists, environmental protection specialists, aviation safety assistants, and management and program assistants. And I just want to call back to what Pete Buttigieg tweeted. He said, we put safety first, drove down close calls, grew traffic control, and had 0 commercial airline crash fatalities out of millions of flights on our watch. President Trump now oversees the military and the FAA. One of his first acts was to fire and suspend some of the key personnel who helped keep our skies safe.
So I do think it's a valid point, but I want to be very clear. There is no evidence that the DC tragic plane crash had anything to do with these firings. And then this most recent one in Toronto, it was because of landing on a Canadian airway, and it was related to the landing. It was not, there is yet at this time no evidence it's related to the layoffs.
This is exactly what I pointed out in my video a few days ago. Democrats love to claim they're all about cutting government inefficiency and waste, but then you have Sunny Hostin throwing a fit over 1% of the FAA being fired. And this is why Democrats keep shooting themselves in the foot. Most Americans see right through this hypocrisy. They refuse to applaud anything that Elon Musk or Trump does, even when it's about cutting waste. They act like every single federal employee is essential, like every single government agency is running at peak efficiency. Everyone knows that's not true. And by fighting every single attempt to make the government work better for American citizens, they're just making the Democratic brand look worse. And I'm so glad Alyssa corrected her. Not that it's going to change Sunny Hostin's mind. but at least the audience got some perspective, because just listing off employees and fear-mongering about how they might have prevented a plane crash in Canada doesn't mean it's actually true. Democrats will never have common sense until they develop some self-awareness, but they refuse to do that. They never admit they're wrong, because they think too highly of themselves. They believe all. The debt they took out for their worthless college degrees somehow makes them more enlightened than everyone else. And in their minds, there's no way a bunch of non-college educated, rural, Christian, white supremacist Trump voters could have been right all along. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.